Hello and welcome back to the Odd Shopper YouTube channel. I'm Isaiah. I'm coming to you from Nashville, and I'm here to break down this weekend's race at Richmond. So last weekend we did all right. We didn't have some winners in the video, but we did have some winners in the article and in the Discord. We managed to hit on Allmendinger to win the Xfinity Series race, and we also hit on Todd Gilliland to score a top 10 at 7-1. So those were some pretty big winners. I was pretty happy with those. Overall, not a great showing on the Cup race, but the Gilliland bet and the Busher top 10 bet did bail us out. So that was pretty solid to hit those. We're going to talk a little bit about Bet365 today. They're having a great promotion that we'll get into a little bit later. Then we're going to talk about Odd Shopper Insider Access, which is how you get access to all of those bets that I just described and not just the outrights that I post in the videos and online on our website via articles. Great. So let's get into it. This weekend's race is the Toyota Owners 400. It is Richmond Raceway in Virginia. It is a 3/4 mile flat oval, which its comparators are other short flat ovals. Those are your New Hampshire Motor Speedway and your Phoenix Raceway especially. That's great news for us because the Cup Series ran at Phoenix Raceway a couple of weeks back in March, and we are going to use that. Actually, yeah, this is still March. We're not back in March, but this weekend's race is in April. So even though I'm posting this video in March, that's why. Anyway, I need to stop rambling about the date. The other thing to note is that there is rain in the forecast. Saturday should be kind of wet. However, Sunday should be relatively dry. NASCAR can still run in the rain at short tracks this year, which is a new thing that they're debuting. I'm not sure how that's going to mess with qualifying. I'm not too worried about it. It will not affect the Cup Series race, but it will be something to consider in the Xfinity Series this weekend. So quickly before we get into the picks, I want to talk about Bet365. So they're having a fantastic deal right now where you bet $1 and you get $365 in bonus bets. So if you're like me, that means you're hitting the longest money line favorite of the day, and then you are taking that dollar back and you are putting your $365 on a sport like NASCAR. That's exactly how I want to spend my weekend. You can spend your weekend doing that too, and you should tail these bets if you do so. Alrighty, let me pull up the odds board real quick and we'll get into the picks. Great. So our first pick this weekend is going to be Kyle Larson. So he's trading all the way at 6-1 at Bet365. You can get that number. It's 13-2 at DraftKings or some other sports books. Obviously, that's a better price, so I recommend you play it there. But I have a very simple formula for determining who I think the favorite for this race should be, and it's who did the best at Phoenix in March. This formula last year would have paid dividends. The same driver led the most laps in both events last year. The same driver started on the pole in both events last year. And coincidentally, Kyle Larson started on the pole at Phoenix and led the most laps at Phoenix with 201 of 317. So if last year is any indication, the driver who did the best at Phoenix should have a massive leg up at Richmond. They'll probably bring the same car here even. So that's why we're going to target Larson. There's a couple of other factors why I think he's a really sharp bet, especially at 13-2, which, although he looks like the favorite at Bet365, that is not the case at other books. Other books usually have Byron and Harvick trading at shorter odds. So other reasons to back Larson. Number one, he won the pole for last year's August race at Richmond. So he dethroned Blaney by the time the August race came around. Number two, he has the best career average starting spot at Richmond at 8.6 of all active drivers. And that's all you really need to know here. He should qualify incredibly well, which will mean that his odds will close at a shorter price than what you're going to be able to get now. So I would lock this in before qualifying as quickly as you can. Our second pick, Denny Hamlin. He's also trading at a better price at other books. You can usually get him at 9-1 at DraftKings. I think he's also at 9-1 at FanDuel. He's not 9-1 everywhere. There are some other places where he is 8-1, but you can get him at 9-1 in a few places. So we're kind of deviating from the formula here with how we justified the Larson pick, but not really. Hamlin finished 23rd at Phoenix after starting second and running up front for most of the day. However, he finished that poorly because he decided that he was going to wreck Rouse Chastain at the end of the race. That's on him. That's not on us. That's still a sign that he has a fast car, even though he didn't finish very well. He also recorded the 7th best driver rating in that event of all of the drivers. So that's still solid. He showed a lot of speed at Phoenix. He's easily going to get overlooked by other bettors in the books because of his final finishing position back in Phoenix, which is good for us because if he had run insanely well, then this price would certainly not be where it is right now. The other reason why we're targeting Hamlin is that Richmond, he has dominated Richmond historically. He has a jaw-dropping 10 top fives in his last 12 starts, which includes 2 wins. That is monumental production. You never see drivers do things like that at any track anymore. He also has the second best career average starting spot here at Richmond at 9.3 behind only our friend Kyle Larson. So as with Larson, you're getting a better deal at other books. I would recommend shopping around, hitting that 9-1, seeing if you can get something a little bit longer because of his underperformance at Phoenix. Yeah, Hamlin, great bet this weekend. We'll have one more pick, but I really want to talk about Odd Shopper Insider Access first. So what is Odd Shopper Insider Access? It gets you access to all of our betting experts, so not just me. If you watch the Odd Shop, you get access to all the hosts on there. In our premium Discord, you get picks in real time like live bets. You get access to office hours and Q&As. You can sweat out games and races with us. And you also get access to my NFL betting model when the NFL eventually comes back in the fall. That's one of my favorite things to do is to model the NFL. I have a pretty solid model that was really good in the playoffs last year. It made me, I think, if I'm doing the math real quick, like 6 or 7 units, and that's just with 1 unit plays on a very limited set of games. It was very efficient. I was very happy with it last year. But yeah, you get access to that if you sign up for the Discord. Obviously, you can't get it right now, but when the NFL rolls around, we'll be able to talk about model bets. Perfect. Now our last pick. You're going to have to look a little ways down the board for this one. It's going to be Ryan Preece. Now, I've talked about Ryan Preece before on the YouTube channel, and he hasn't come through for us quite yet, but we're going to forgive him because he showed such good speed at the Busch Clash earlier in the year. He was 50-1 for that race, and he nearly cashed our tickets then. I think there's a chance he could cash this one here. He's obviously at 66-1 at Bet365, which is better than the 50-1 that we got for the Clash. However, you're going to want to shop around for this one because you can still find Preece at 150-1 or longer if you look around. I think FanDuel is the book where he's at 150-1. That is a wildly irresponsible line, to be honest. I mean, I know that he'll need some help to cash this bet to actually win this race, but there is no reason for a driver like Preece to be at 150-1. Obviously, he's had a bad start to the year in the points-paying races. But he did okay at Phoenix. He finished 12th. He didn't score a top 10, but a 12th place finish is solid, especially considering his equipment wasn't great to start the year. He took a little bit of time to adjust back up to the Cup Series level. I think that he might not dominate this weekend's race at Richmond, but I think he can run really well here. They're obviously running a low downforce package at short tracks this year in the Cup Series, and that benefits drivers like Preece, who came from the Whelen Modified Tour, which runs on short flat ovals like Richmond, and which has a very low downforce package. So I think Preece should benefit from it. He didn't benefit as much as I thought he would at Phoenix. I'm still willing to double down for Richmond. Another thing to note here is that Preece dominated in his lone modified tour start at Richmond in 2021 by leading 62.8% of the laps. So he hasn't ever really dominated here in the main 3 divisions of NASCAR, but I think that he's shown enough speed here in other cars that are comparable, especially now that we're in the low downforce package, that I think he can pull off a win, even if it's a little bit of a Hail Mary at the end of the race. Plus, we've also seen Stewart-Haas cars do all right at short flat ovals. Eric Almirola obviously has had some great runs at short flat ovals, and we know that he pulled off that wild upset win at New Hampshire 2 years back. Chase Briscoe won at Phoenix in the spring last year. Yeah, he won at Phoenix in the spring. Yep, that's right. He also had a pretty solid run there this year. I think he led a couple of laps. He might not have led a couple of laps this year. But regardless, he had a solid day. I think Stewart-Haas Racing is underrated. Also, Kevin Harvick. I can't believe I forgot about him. Has put together some solid runs, especially at Phoenix, where he almost won. So the speed hasn't been there for every Stewart-Haas driver. I think it will be there for Preece this weekend. Again, I'm not betting on him to lead this race from the green flag to the checkered flag, but I am willing to get a little bit of exposure on him to pull off an upset win. Maybe with enough late race cautions and restarts to get it done, he can pull that off. All right, let me close out of this odds board so we can go through and recap our bets for this weekend. Number 1, we're going to bet on Kyle Larson at 13-2. Number 2, we're going to bet on Denny Hamlin at 9-1. And number 3, we're going to bet on Ryan Preece at 150-1. I have 3 other outrights, actually, in the Discord that I am a big fan of, and you can read about a couple of them in the article that I already have posted at oddshopper.com. So if you are not satisfied with how many NASCAR bets you've already placed for this weekend, feel free to head over to our website, pull up my author page, or our featured section. And yeah, there will be more bets waiting for you there. Alrighty, it's been a pleasure. Please like and subscribe if you find this content useful. I'll see you next weekend, hopefully, before that race. And let's make some money this weekend.